I'm Trace Gallagher in for Shepard Smith. This is Studio B. It's the bottom of the hour. Time now for the top of the news. A jury has convicted 5 police officers in connection with the deadly shootings on a New Orleans bridge just after Hurricane Katrina struck. Prosecutors say the cops shot 6 unarmed civilians without reason or warning, then tried to cover it up using false evidence and fake witnesses. It happened on the now infamous Danziger Bridge as the flooded city descended into chaos. 2 of the victims died, but the jury did not find that the shootings amounted to murder. Chris Gutierrez with the news. Chris, explain the verdict for us.
Yeah, you bet, because it's kind of complicated, Trace, but the bottom line here is all 5 officers were found to be guilty of covering up these shootings. That's the big thing here. All 5 of them guilty of covering up the shootings by either filing the false reports, as you mentioned, or even they planted a gun, according to testimony in court. But 4 of these officers fired their weapons, which violated the victims' civil rights. But only 2 of the officers, you see them here, it's Bowen and Falcon, were found guilty of firing fatal shots. But the jury found doing so did not constitute murder, which would have carried a sentence of life in prison. Listen here.
The vast majority of those men and women in blue out there who sacrifice every day do precisely that. They put the safety of the citizens ahead of everybody else. These men did not.
All 5 officers, Trace, still face lengthy sentences, but not life in prison. That's the key here. Sentencing, Trace, by the way, is scheduled for sometime in December.
And remind us, if you would, Chris, why were these officers on the bridge in the first place?
Yeah, it's important for the context of this story, Trace. They were actually responding to an officer down distress phone call. And when they were doing so, essentially they arrived into a chaotic situation, according to testimony. But according to witnesses, they didn't fully assess the situation as they were trained. Instead, as you mentioned, they shot 6 innocent people who were walking across this bridge. One of the victims who died was just 17 years old. His mother said this about today's verdict. Listen here.
They took the twinkle out my eye, the song out of my heart, and blew out my candle. But it's going to be all right, because justice has been served.
The other man who died, Trace, was a 40-year-old mentally disabled man. He died from a shotgun blast to the back. Back to you, Trace.
Chris Gutierrez live for us in our Southwest newsroom. Chris, thank you. Well, thousands of workers will soon go back to work, and the government will be able to collect $30 million a day in airline ticket taxes.